Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate your time and just talking to you. For those of people that don't know, what is your name and what do you do?
My name is Greg Baldwin, and I have the great honor of voicing Iroh. Mainly, I'm known for voicing Iroh and Aku and for taking over a lot of Mako Arumatsu's parts after he passed away. Basically, being a voice match for Mako, primarily. And I've done some other really cool work, but I think primarily, and I think even more than Aku, and I liked voicing Aku very much, but I think Iroh is the main guy.
Okay.
You know.
When you tell people what you're proud of, like voice acting wise.
Oh, without it. I mean, I'm proud of all my work, but I'm proudest of Iroh because I'm proud to be associated with such a character. You know, the thing about Iroh only does good in the world. No one has ever come up to me, a fan, no one has ever come up to me and said, man, I hated that Uncle Iroh character. He sucked. No one has ever said that because he doesn't, and he means so much. The interesting thing to me about Iroh, and I didn't realize it until I started going out and meeting people, is it's much more than a cartoon character. This character actually has literally impacted people's lives. You know, sometimes people come up to me and they cry. It's like, please don't cry. I'm just an old man with a very specific job skill. There's nothing to cry about. But it's because this character seriously touched their lives in a good way. And you know, if I got to be associated with something to be a father figure, that's fantastic. You know, and I take that seriously, actually, because Iroh is so important to people. I take being his representative in the real world seriously. If that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. How did you get into your profession?
I saw a movie when I was 10 years old. My parents took me to see a movie called, they dropped my little brother and I off to see a movie, it's a Christmas movie called Scrooge. Starred an actor named Albert Finney. It was a musical. I think I had never seen a musical before. And I don't know why, but this film touched my 10-year-old heart in a way. Literally, it was almost a religious experience.
Wow.
The Greg that went into the theater was not the same Greg that came. Once walking out of that theater, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that I wanted to make other people feel as happy as this movie had just made me feel. And from that point on, that's all I wanted to do.
That's amazing.
You know, and I'm lucky now. Granted, I had to do a lot of other stuff. You know, I didn't. Oh, poof, you were an actor. No, I worked for business and legal affairs at Disney for like 20 years. You know, but I kept at it, and I think people, you know, they'll often say, I want to be a voice actor, and I said, what's the most important thing? And the most important thing, I think, is perseverance. I could have left LA 100 times, wanted to, but I stuck it out because it's what I wanted to do. And I was 46, but it finally came. It finally happened.
What has been your favorite studio or team that you've worked with over your amazing career?
Well, I mean, I've worked with some cool people. You know, with Mike and Brian on Avatar, Gendy Tartakovsky on Samurai Jack, Dave Filoni on, you know, Clone Wars. My favorite team. I mean, no, I couldn't. Especially those three. I mean, they're at the top of their craft. Their shows are also different. The Clone Wars, Samurai Jack, and Avatar. But I don't think I could pick one over the other. In terms, they're all such geniuses. They, you know, they literally are geniuses, and I would not. Now, I've gotten very close with a lot of my Avatar cast members. Not so much while we were recording, but doing this. Because we get to know each other. We frequently are there at the same time. We go out and eat together, you know. And that's another really cool side effect of this gig, is I get to know, you know, in LA, you go to the recording session, you're there for an hour, hour and a half, you know, see you next week, or not if you don't have to come in, and you know, that's it. It's just a job. Voice actors, in my experience, don't typically go out for drinks after a recording session. It's just a job. You do your job, you go home. This is different, and we've become, I think, a lot closer. I call Michaela, who voices Toph, my work daughter.
I get that. And I bet that's, so were you guys together when you shot that scene with Toph?
No, I never recorded with Toph at all.
Really?
I think, now I've talked to her, she did record with Mako. But most of my scenes, and Avatar was cool in that they tried to get as many of the cast together at the same time as possible. And they don't always do that. So that was kind of fun. But most of my scenes were almost always with Dante.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What does not get brought up in your profession that you want to shine a little bit more light on? Like what's just not talked about
Of
that should be?
roles that I've played, or just things in general?
Just in your profession, like if you could do it again, what is some things that you would want to know going in?
You know, I would like. Well, of course, there are things that you only learn with age. When I was young, I was convinced that I'd have 5 Oscars by the time I was 25. You know, I wish I had. Honestly, I wish I had known. As I was just talking about perseverance, I wish I had known that, you know, chill out and give it some time. Skill is a very important component. Luck is an important component, but I think perseverance is the most important component. And that's something they don't really teach you. I mean, at acting school, they don't teach you a lot of things. They teach you how to act, but they don't teach you that, oh, you're going to have to do something besides act. You're going to have a real job. Here are some good real jobs that you can have, you know. But yeah, mostly, you know, yeah, I wish I'd known. It's going to take a long time. And I also think and it's easy to say because even now there are parts that I really want and that I don't get. And I wish that even now I would always just invest a little less. You know, it's just business. Even though sometimes you're perfect for the gig and you know you're going to get it, they never call. That is a very hard part of the job. But again, they don't tell you about.
Right.
Nobody calls you up and says, I'm sorry, we've decided to pass. I guess if you're a big enough actor, they do. But usually they just don't call. So you have an audition and it's like, you know, 5 days later, well, I didn't get it because they haven't called me back.
Right.
And that, I don't like that. No one. I don't think anyone likes that. I can't imagine anyone. And that's a hard part of it. But also, man, it's fun too.
Right.
It's fun to play pretend. And what I love about voice acting, especially, if I'm doing on-camera work, and I've done some, frequently they're casting a lot of things at the same time. You know, if I walk in and I don't know where I'm supposed to be, all I have to do is look for where the fat old white guys are. And I know that that's where I belong because that's what I look like, that's what I'm going to be cast as. But voice acting is a very different matter. Voice acting, you are not confined by your physicality. You're not confined by anything. So you can be anything or anybody. And that's what I love about voice acting. It's sort of liberating to know that I'm not going to be pigeonholed into this one single thing. I can do all kinds of things.
Right.
I can be the shape-shifting master of darkness, or I can be an ancient alien Jedi, you know, or I can be the tea-sipping, you know, wise uncle, father figure. It's very liberating. It's wonderful.
That's amazing. What do you look for inspiration, right? So like you've done such iconic characters, and you know you've made them your own, but how? Like what's the inspiration? What's the motivation behind the things that you do?
Well, I mean, obviously with the Mako roles, my biggest motivation was try to sound as much like Mako as possible.
Okay.
You know, and to this day I think that's important to honor the character and honor his performance that he created. But I don't know, I like to listen to music. I still, to this day, musical sort of got me started down this road, and to this day, what I draw inspiration from is music, and specifically the music from musicals.
So music is a giant influence.
Absolutely.
It
It
helps
always
you
has been, yes.
move along. You cosplay as
I do.
as Iroh for a lot of cons. Why do you do that? Why do you cosplay?
Because it's fun. And because the first time I ever did it, all I wanted to do was have the costume built, and I wanted to walk out on the floor in my costume, and I wanted someone to, you know, to say, oh, your voice is great. You sound just like him. And the first time I did it, sure enough, I think it was in Ontario, California, and I'm walking around, and somebody says, hey, Iroh, man, your cosplay is, you know, on point. And I say, oh, I thank you very much, my friend. And from behind me, I hear somebody say, crap, I think that really is him. And I'm going, oh, my work here is done. And another time, I was doing it in New Mexico. The same thing happened. Great cosplay, great cosplay. So, oh, I thank you very much. And the guy goes, you know, he's here. He's actually here. And I say to this guy, oh, he is closer than you know, my friend. Closer than you know. So that's part of it. And it's just, you know, I used to come to Comic-Cons. My son and I used to go down to San Diego back when you could actually get into the San Diego Comic-Con day of. So I was enjoying this whole scene with my son years before I imagined I'd be on the other side of the table.
Right.
And honestly, there is a radical sense of freedom at these events that I have never felt anyplace else.
That's amazing.
You know, the people are wonderful. Everyone is free to just let their freak flag fly, and no one is going to judge. And I think that's why it's so miraculous that I get to do this now as my job, with the thing that I used to do just for fun. You know.
Ooh. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it. If Uncle Iroh could give one send-off to his millions of fans, what would he say?
Iroh, if you could distill Iroh into 3 bullet points, it would be this. The first is, everyone is capable of becoming a better version of themselves. From Zuko to the millions of fans of Iroh all over the world to Iroh's voice actor. Everyone can be better. Bullet point 2, savor the little things in life. A cup of tea, a hot tub. And the most important thing, especially in times in which we find ourselves, is, and this is what I will leave you with, be kind, be kind, be kind, be kind, be kind.
That's amazing.
You know,
Thank you so much.
you're most welcome.
It's been a pleasure.
Be well.